The blockade of Strait of Hormuz has not only halted oil, but also disrupted one-third of the world's fertilizer exports, threatening food security in major agricultural nations like India, Brazil, and Thailand. That's why we have been saying that we are foreseeing a crisis, and now we are in crisis, Mr. Chair.
Ikaw ang una, talagang national security, pareho ang tugma. Pareho ang tugma. I mean, we're aligned. DDG, Nestor, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
May
I go on?
So thank you for saying that. Kasi yung mga iba, ayaw pang tumanggap. We're okay. Paano tayo gagalaw na mabilis kung we're okay? Tapos yung iba nakikipag-away, we're not in crisis. Ano ba? Hindi pwede. Ano? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for inviting the security sector. And I would like to reiterate what DOE said, that we will run dry. And so, ganyan tayo, di ba? NDCP, wargaming, worst case scenario. So, yan. We go through each agency. If we will run dry, worst case scenario, what would you do? National Security Council, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Senator. The Honorable Chairman, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, and the honorable members of this committee, apologies for Secretary Anyo. He was not able to attend this meeting, and he said we are here to present the Securities Council's situation update of what we do have now. Just to give a next slide, please, a quick background on the recent confrontations involving the United States and Israel and Iran. As of March 21, 2026, Iranian missiles targeted Diego Garcia base with ballistic missiles, making the furthest range of now 40,000 kilometers. 4,000 kilometers. However, one missile failed mid-flight and the other was intercepted by the U.S. warship. Iran launched 8 missiles barrages at Israel. A cluster of munition strike impacted near Dimona, injuring at least 47 people following the Israel-U.S. attack at Natanz nuclear facility and missile production site. The following day, March 22, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 48-hour ultimatum, threatening to obliterate Iranian power plants unless the Strait of Hormuz was fully reopened to shipping. Iran countered that it would target the energy and water infrastructure of Gulf neighbors to close the strait. Hezbollah also launched a record high of 85 attack waves against northern Israel, the highest intensity since the group joined the war on March 1. On March 23, a new wave of U.S. and Israeli strikes hit Tehran. Al Jazeera correspondents described the explosion as unprecedented, particularly in the city's eastern side. President Trump extended his 48-hour deadline by 5 days, claiming very good and productive conversation were taking place. Iran's foreign ministry denied such dialogue, calling the claim fake news intended to manipulate energies. Next slide, please. So on March 24, 2026, Israel launched another fresh wave of strikes early Monday, Tuesday, or today against infrastructure targets in Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned of a long-term campaign against Iranian government and expanded ground operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, specifically targeting bridges over the Litani River to restrict movement. The Lebanese government, led by the Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, has condemned Hezbollah unauthorized military activities and formally moved to ban them, demanding the group place its weapons under the state control. President Joseph Aoun has characterized Israeli attacks on civilian infrastructure as collective punishment and a prelude to a full-scale ground invasion that threatens Lebanese sovereignty. The International Energy Agency warns current severity exceeds the dual oil crisis of the 1970s combined. The IEA characterized this as the largest supply disruption in the history of global oil market, with flows plunging from 20 million barrels per day to a mere trickle. And also the World Trade Organization has warned that the global merchandise trade growth could be slashed from a forecasted 4.6% down to 1.4% if energy prices remain elevated through 2026. The blockade of Strait of Hormuz has not only halted oil, but also disrupted one-third of the world's fertilizer exports, threatening food security in major agricultural nations like India, Brazil, and Thailand. That's why we have been saying that we are foreseeing a crisis, and now we are in crisis, Mr. Chair. and
Ikaw
Madam
ang
Chair.
una, talagang national security, pareho ang tugma. Pareho ang tugma. I mean, we're aligned. DDG, Nestor, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Saan nandyan si...
May I go on?
So thank you for saying that. Kasi yung mga iba, ayaw pang tumanggap. We're okay. Paano tayo gagalaw na mabilis kung we're okay? Tapos yung iba nakikipag-away, we're not in crisis. Ano ba? Hindi pwede. Ano?
May I go
Yes.
now on the projected
Okay.
impacts?
Yes, at least maliwanag. We're speaking on the same plane. Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Philippine side, spillovers have never been this damaging, but hence, various agencies are monitoring the effects and devastating measures to prevent further disruptions. As shown are the projected impacts addressed by the various agencies in this socio-economic area stemming from the Middle East conflict. The government's 5% to 6% growth for 2026 target is at risk of being missed with Philippine peso recently hitting a record low of 59.5 pesos to 60 pesos per US dollar. Our economist's projected inflation breach of 4% target band potentially reach to 4.5 to 5.5% in the short term due to fuel and energy cost. Oil prices are projected to continue rising up. Philippine imports 66% of nitrogen and projected to continue rising up. The Philippine disruption of these supply routes directly threaten crop yields and local food prices, as mentioned by the Department of Agriculture earlier. Middle East accounts for roughly 18 to 22% of the Philippine remittances, which is expected to fall short following the severity of conflict. As mentioned also earlier by DMW, around 2.4 million overseas Filipino workers are recorded in the Middle East. Accordingly, on March 23, 2026, President personally welcomed 343 repatriated OFW at Villamor Air Base. This was the fourth government chartered flight, bringing a total number of assisted repatriates to over 2,000 since early March. Repatriated workers are receiving 75,000 pesos from the Department of Migrant Workers, DMW Action Fund, and another 75,000 from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, the OWA. Moreover, flight cancellation and rerouting make it harder and more expensive for the OFW to come home for emergencies or scheduled vacation, as well as critical businesses. Although it has been earlier clarified that there is no direct threat to military and defense, the NSC remains vigilant. Earlier, the chair was asking about the contingency mechanism of our government. And as mentioned earlier by Secretary of Department of Welfare and Social Welfare, that the executive department met on the crisis management, and the National Security Council is also anchoring on the national level crisis management committee. This is under an old administrative order, 82, which is outlined on how the national level crisis management committee, next slide please, which is actually chaired by the president with the following members as shown. So we can see that the executive secretary is the cabinet office of primary responsible when we talk about terrorism, crisis and emergency in foreign countries affecting Filipinos and border incidents. Like to what we have now, if we have the crisis on threats to energy and oil supply, it should be the Secretary of Energy will be the cabinet of office of primary responsible. But on the sub-working level, we give due credit to the National Disaster Risk and Management Coordinating Center. Last March 12, we initially have at the level of working group to study the impact of the crisis in Middle East, and we also have some results of the action taken by the different members of the executive department on the action that the different department that has undertaken. As also mentioned earlier, every agency in the executive level, we do adhere the Memorandum Circular 114 as mentioned by the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management on the energy conservation as well. So on the level of the National Security Council, we'll continue to work on the technical working group level on the building up of the contingency plan for the different levels of crisis, especially in coordinating with the interagency collaborations among the different agencies of the executive level, Mr. Chair and Madam Senator. That's all for the National Security Council.